so thank you and good morning to everyone who's joining us. And thank you for joining us with the 2021-22 Alabama Goes to College campaign kickoff. All right, before we begin, we'd like to thank our sponsors and our partners. We'll have our partners on the next slide, but we want to thank everyone who helps us to make this work possible and these webinars possible. All right, just a few housekeeping items before we begin. Everyone should already be muted, but if something were to happen and you come off mute, we'd appreciate it if you stay on mute, just so we avoid feedback during the webinar. As usual, this webinar will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. You will also receive a follow-up email with the recording and the presentation. And then we also encourage you to submit questions throughout the webinar using the chat feature. So we will be diving into our educators toolkit today. So if you have any questions while we're there, we encourage you to send those questions so we can answer them in real time. All right, so we know your students are on social media. We know you are on social media, so we're there as well. You can find us at AL Goes to College on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find the Alabama Department of Education on Twitter at Alabama Achieves and on Facebook at the Alabama Department of Education. So we know we encourage you all to share your commitment to building a college-going culture through social media. And when you're doing that, these hashtags along the bottom that we have here, this is just our way to find your posts, to share your posts, and share the good work that you're doing with your students. All right, so we want to see who's in the Zoom room today. I see a lot of people are introducing themselves in the chat, but we want to see what kind of roles we have here and what role everyone has. So I'm going to launch that poll. I will give everyone a couple seconds to get answered. All right, I see some administrators, I see some career coaches, I see some counselors, I see some others. It's really exciting to have a little bit of everyone here today. So we have another poll question, and I'm hoping this is a trick question. So is your school already registered for the campaign? We're gonna hope everyone answers yes. I'm hoping for 100% on this one. But let me ask. So if the answers are a yes, no, and unsure. So I'm hoping, so far it's 100% yes. We have a little bit of unsure. So we have some next steps for you and some information for you. All right, but I am happy the majority said yes. So we're gonna go ahead and continue on. Thank you guys so much for answering those questions. All right, so like I mentioned, if you're unsure or the answer was no, you can sign up using this link, alabamapossible.org/register 2021-22. Just remember only one representative from each school should be registering, and this will serve as the Alabama Goes to College campaign registration, as well as the Alabama College Application campaign registration. So used to be 2 forms, now it's 1, making things easier on you. We can go to the next slide. So some learning objectives for today. So first, we are hoping to deepen your familiarity with the Alabama Goes to College campaign and its components. Then we hope you'll gain confidence with navigating and using the educator's toolkit. And after doing both of those, we hope that you will be able to identify one new strategy and an asset that you can use to increase awareness for your college and career initiatives at your schools. Next slide. So Alabama Goes to College has 3 campaign components. Cash for College is centered around FAFSA completion for graduating seniors. Alabama College Application Week offers Alabama colleges and universities, as well as some surrounding states. They offer free application waivers for high school seniors. And then College and Career Decision Day is usually celebrated in May, where you just celebrate a student's decision after high school, whether that's going to college, whether that's pursuing a career or enlisting in the military. Next slide. So I will dig a little deeper into Cash for College. And like I mentioned, it's for every graduating senior to complete the FAFSA before they graduate from high school so that they can access federal, state, institutional aid, and pay for their education after high school. So some resources that we have for the Cash for College initiatives is the Cash for College data dashboard, which is found on the Alabama Possible website. There is the AIC student lookup portal. And so within the registration page for the Alabama Goes to College campaign, if you indicated that you do not have access to the AIC student lookup portal, we'll be following up with you individually. And in most cases, it'll be the LAM or the local access manager who will be responsible and will need to create accounts for everyone that needs access to the students' information. And then also, well, lastly, we have the FAFSA.gov. They have a resource library that helps you reach your students, reach your parents, and so reach whatever demographic you're trying to reach. You can go to the next slide. All right, some key dates for Cash for College. Every year, October 1st is when the FAFSA opens. December 1st is the deadline for schools to compete for the Best Hustle Award, which is given based on improving early FAFSA completion. And then May 1st is our deadline for schools to compete for Most Improved and the MVP Award grant prizes. All right, next slide. So now I am going to turn it over to Dr. Mack.
Good morning. As Keela mentioned earlier, the Alabama College Application Campaign is part of this initiative. The purpose of this initiative is to assist students in applying to college early in their senior year. This campaign was first launched in 2013, so we have increased our number of schools participating each year since that time. So for this year, one of the goals is to make sure that students apply to at least one college or university, and this could be a 2-year or a 4-year institution. Some of the key resources that will assist you as you plan for this event, we have our ALCAC Site Coordinator Manual, and we'll talk about this in more detail at the next workshop, which is scheduled for September 13th. But in this resource manual, there are timelines as well as an overview of how you can assist your students with this campaign. And then we also have letters and templates that are also helpful to you as you begin your planning. The American College Application Campaign, this is another resource that you can use, and there are also resources available to assist you as you plan for this event. Next slide. So we have our key dates. Friday, September 17th is our Why Apply Day. And on this day, it is a large social media campaign to encourage students to apply to college. And we will be providing additional resources for you so that you can promote this with your students. And then October 18th through the 22nd, we have our Alabama College Application Week. During this time, we will provide you with a list of participating colleges that have agreed to waive the application fee during this time. This information will be sent to you a week prior to the beginning of this event, and we do ask that you do not share this information with your students until the actual event starts. And I think right now, and May, you can correct me, we have over 200 high schools that have registered for this event, so we are really excited about that.
Oh, that's correct.
Okay. Next slide. So another component of Alabama Goes to College, we have our College and Career Decision Day. And of course, the goal for this is to celebrate those students who are either planning to attend a 2-year, 4-year institution, military, or who are enrolled in an industry recognized certification program. And we have our resources below that will assist you in this planning. And we also have a webinar that we will provide for you as it gets closer to the date. This event is normally held on May 1st, but of course, anytime the month of May that is convenient for you. We know a lot goes on at the end of the school year. So whatever day is convenient for you during that month, you should be able to celebrate. Thank you. And I'll turn it back over to May.
So we are going to get some discussions started in the chat before we introduce our incredible educator that we have joining us today. So if you'd like to participate, go ahead and respond in the chat feature of the Zoom. But our first question is, what are some ways you are engaging parents and guardians in the college going process? Feel free to add your contributions in the chat. So this is a big one that we hear every year, that especially with the pandemic, it has been difficult and challenging to reach parents and guardians, but y'all are using every method you have available to you. Some responses that I see are online meetings to discuss ways to help their students. So talking about deadlines, resources, hosting FAFSA and College 101 nights. Love the idea of College 101, just an introductory session to the college going process. I see mass emails, one-on-one meetings, newsletters, posters, and then a lot of folks looking like they're hosting FAFSA nights, hosting senior parent meetings on Saturdays, so that maybe for families who have busy working schedules, they can make it on a weekend. Some of y'all are saying communicate the importance of FAFSA in higher education, integrate more social media reminders. Oh, we have hosted in the past college recruitment visits with reps at the public library in the evening. That's awesome. Promoting events through email and social media. One responder said, all seniors have a binder with documents parents are required to sign every time we meet. So yeah, lots of different ways of engaging our families in this work. I love that y'all are pointing out hosting events in evening times or on the weekends to make sure that everyone is able to attend. And that kind of gets to our next question, which are, who are the community partners that you are inviting to support your college going activities? So whether that's partnering with these community members to utilize their spaces like the public library, or having them come on to campus to give presentations to your students. Right, so we have someone who said community college reps, career coaches, absolutely. Our local community college, especially the financial aid department. Yeah, that's an incredibly useful resource to have. Someone said Mercedes, Golden Flake, Ross Bridges, career coaches, junior colleges, HBCUs. So yeah, seeking out business partners, potential career pathways for your students, and then other post-secondary pathways for your students. Awesome. So great, I'm going to stop sharing screen right now, and I'm going to invite Nick Preston to join us. Nick is a career coach with Jefferson County Schools. And Nick, I would love for you to start off just by telling us where you work, what populations you serve, and what ideas and tools you think educators should incorporate into their work this year.
Thank you, May. So hello, everyone. I am Nick Preston. As May mentioned, I'm a career coach for Jefferson County Schools. And so within that, I'm one of the career coaches. There's three of us. And so I serve 5 schools, and in saying that there's urban population, suburban population of students. And so they all come, from diverse backgrounds, and each school kind of looks different on the way that they kind of model things. But one of the things that we have been working on, especially for the Go to College initiative, is we're really excited about the Cash for College, the FAFSA Kickoff, the workshops that we're going to be working on. We have some reps that we've reached out to from different community colleges and four-year universities that are interested in coming in and helping our students. So they're an excellent resource and support for our students to help them navigate that FAFSA. For the free app week, we are excited. We are planning some activities for that for our students to kind of get them engaged and involved with that. And then we're really just, well, as a career coach and then working alongside with the counselors, we're really just a support system for our students. We want them to know that we're excited about what their future is going to be after high school. And so any way that we can assist them in getting to that point, we're here for them. And so those are just some of the activities that we are, where we have planned upcoming for our students in the district.
Awesome, Nick. And if you wouldn't mind sharing for your students as they're considering all of their different options and as it relates to normally our first initiative, which is College Application Week, preceded by Why Apply Day, which is in September. How do you kind of talk to students about their different options, whether they're going to go to a local 2-year community college or they're considering a 4-year university? How do you approach that conversation with students?
Yeah, well, first, really just understanding what the student kind of wants to do and helping them kind of identify, looking at what they want to do and helping them kind of identify and select that career path for them. So if a student wants to, be an educator, if a student wants to, be an engineer, that it requires, maybe a 4-year degree for that. So looking at those institutions that offer those programs, if our students are maybe interested in going the technical route and looking at, more of those short-term programs that are, maybe 6 to 12 weeks, then we just help them kind of walk through that and look at the different institutions or community colleges that may offer those programs for them, those pipeline programs for them. So it's really kind of putting the ball in the student court and really seeing what they want to do kind of long-term after high school.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure with all of the local institutions nearby, they can really speak to what programs they have available so that students are exposed to maybe pathways that they hadn't considered before. Our students have lots of strengths, and we definitely want to encourage them to pursue both their passions and their strengths, but also just giving them so much exposure via these representatives that we have who want to show students various pathways. So I think y'all are doing an incredible job, and thank you for being here with us today. What we're going to do now, I'm going to bring our slides back up one moment.
Hey, May, there are a couple questions for Nick in the chat.
Oh yeah, if you wouldn't mind reading those while I pull up the slides, that'd be great.
What will your communication look like to parents that completing the FAFSA, now that completing the FAFSA is a graduation requirement? Will this come from your administration, superintendent, or does the state have a press release that schools can use to inform parents of this new requirement?
I can kind of surface level answer this question. I know it may look different for every school, but I know what we've been doing, at our senior nights that we've hosted for our students and their parents, we've just went ahead and, had that conversation with the parents like, hey, this is upcoming. We're gonna, the FAFSA, is a requirement. And so we are here to be a support in helping you navigate that FAFSA process. And we've even thrown out like, hey, we're having some FAFSA nights because we really want our parents to be involved. And so we know sometimes they work 8 to 5. So hosting those after hour FAFSA nights where they can come and bring that information to us and we can help them, complete the FAFSA. So we've just been communicating it, during our senior nights to our, the parents and the students to just let them know like, hey, this is what's forthcoming.
Yeah, and that's a perfect introduction to what will be coming through the pipeline later this month. Every year we do our Cash for College FAFSA 101 webinar. It's a pretty comprehensive overview of financial aid and the FAFSA specifically. So we will be doing that towards the end of the month. And per y'all's requests and feedback, while we go through all of these financial aid concepts and then the practical aspect of applying for the FAFSA, we will also be highlighting tools and resources that you can use with students and families. So we'll kind of do all of those things together, give a refresher on financial aid, look at various aspects of the FAFSA, and then also highlight tools in the educator's toolkit that you can use to do that outreach to students and families, to basically to explain the importance of the free application for federal student aid. So thank you again, Nick, for sharing your thoughts. And that's a perfect segue into our next section, which is our demo of the educator's toolkit. So I'm going to pull up that website and go through it with y'all. And I'm going to share a link in the chat as well. Okay, so hopefully you're able to see my screen. What we're looking at right now is our Alabama Goes to College main landing page. And so if you go to alabamagoes2college.org, this is the first thing you'll see. And it's a promotion for our help desk, which students and families can use to ask questions about the college planning process, the admissions process, as well as the financial aid process. And when you scroll down, you have both a students and families button and an educators button. So we'll go ahead and click on the educators button. And so on the educators subpage, what you'll see is a graphic that has a bunch of different live links within it. So if you are to hover over educators handbook, you will be taken to a PDF version of our educators handbook. And so I'll briefly highlight what is contained within this resource. We have our overview of the Alabama Goes to College campaign, followed by each of the campaign components. And within this PDF, there are all kinds of live links that you can click to find more detail. After that, you will find our timeline. So this is going to highlight the most important dates throughout our campaign. And then a bunch of data around why this work is so important. So we update these statistics regularly, and I'm sure you've heard us emphasize a lot of these before, but we are trying to increase post-secondary educational attainment in Alabama. We currently have about 45% of Alabamians with a valuable post-secondary credential, and we're trying to raise that to 60% of Alabamians by 2025. So we want to make sure that our students and all learners are able to pursue post-secondary pathways that lead to valuable credentials. And a big component of that is not just applying to college, but also being able to afford college, which is why we emphasize the FAFSA so much. So after that, we talk more about this Success Plus goal to get 500,000 Alabamians prepared for their careers. We give a little overview of our toolkit, which is what I'll be spending time going through right now. And then we have both state and national resources that you can access. So they're all linked here. And we also include our social media pages, as well as some key hashtags that we really recommend you use so that everyone can see each other's work, can celebrate each other's successes. And we would love to repost all of the amazing work that y'all are doing. So that's a quick look at our Educator's Handbook. And if we go back to this educators subpage on our website, you'll see that we have the educators toolkit linked, as well as a folder for each of the 3 components of the campaign. And then there's also a general folder as well that has some of the assets we just looked at, like our timeline, our students and families guidebook, our educators handbook, and then a calendar that you can customize for your school. So I'm going to show you really quickly that when you're in Google Drive, you can switch between a list view and a grid view. So with this view, you're able to see a preview of the documents, which might be useful if you're trying to locate something just by a visual. And you can alternate to this view so that you can see more of the actual name of the file or the document. But based on a lot of feedback from y'all, we have created a students and families guidebook. So this can be sent directly to the students and families that you're working with. It's pretty similar to our educator's handbook, but it's just meant for students and families. So it's coming from their perspective. So this is going to give them key dates and deadlines to be thinking about throughout the student's senior year. And then what this provides is a lot more resources for thinking about the college application process and the financial aid application process. So I definitely encourage you to peruse that as well as share it with your students and families. All right, so right now you see we're in the general assets folder. So if we click the bar at the top, it'll take us back to the main landing page of the Educator's Toolkit, and we'll see we have 3 more folders, each corresponding to one component of the campaign. If you have a chance to click the link to the toolkit that's in the chat right now and see if you have access to the Google Drive. Last year, we had some issues with school systems security, not allowing educators to view. In that case, I would recommend that you access the Google Drive from a personal email that might not have as many security restrictions on it. So something that we want to emphasize, and I'll illustrate this by going into our Cash for College toolkit, is that a lot of these resources are meant to be customized. So they're serving as a template for you, but you're able to put in your school's specific details. So I'll illustrate this by going to the planning folder and showing you we have 2 different parent or guardian email templates, one being the getting started template. So I'll just open that and let you see what it looks like. So here's like a 1-page letter that you can send to parents and guardians. You can input your contact information here, but just so that we're not all editing a shared document, we want to make sure that before we make any edits, we're going to file, make a copy, and then make sure you're making a copy into one of your personal folders. That way, when you make edits, you're making edits to a copy of this template rather than the actual template. Another thing that you can do is just download the Word document. So you can go to File, Download, and click Microsoft Word. So if you have access to Microsoft products, that'll be another way that you can customize this template without editing where everyone else is pulling this resource from. So that is one of the resources that can be customized for your school. You'll see in this planning folder, we have a FAFSA lesson that you can incorporate into your curriculum. If you are teaching a government or economics class, it especially ties into the curriculum, but you could use this in other classes if you wanted. We also have some social media templates, and then a planning calendar that gives you a timeline of when we recommend having these conversations with students and families, when we recommend doing certain activities like creating an FSA ID prior to starting the application. It really just goes through the timeline of this work. So it actually starts the year before a student's senior year and then goes all the way through their senior year. Most of you know that one of the first parts of applying to financial aid is creating an FSA ID. It's something that we recommend doing at least 3 days in advance of starting the application. And we have this worksheet that's handy. It gives some tips for creating the account. It allows you to document how the student is creating the account so that if they lose that information, you have a file or a record of it that you can go back to. And then also in planning, we have ways to host events, ideas that we've heard from educators in the past that have been really successful. All right, so other folders we have are digital assets. As you can see here, these are mostly graphics to promote the FAFSA. So we have memes, we have fast facts that kind of correct these misconceptions around the FAFSA. And we also have the entire FAFSA process. This can be zoomed way in, but it's a neat little timeline for students and families to look at when they're thinking about the steps and also when they're thinking about what documents they're going to need to gather to be able to complete all of these steps. So that is our digital assets folder. We also have print assets. So these are things that you can hang around the school, such as our 4 types of financial aid flyer. There are also things that you can print and stick in a student's folder. So here are some postcards that's 4 on 1 page. So you can cut these out, stick it in a folder that maybe goes home with the student so that their family can see it as well. Another resource you can hang in your school is our thermometer poster. So this is going to measure the percentage of students who have completed their college. And that way, everyone can be aware of where you are in terms of reaching this goal of 100% of seniors completing the FAFSA before the end of the year. We're going to get into the rest of these resources in great detail when we have our FAFSA 101 webinar and our advanced FAFSA webinar. But so many of these resources come directly from federal student aid and really lead you through the process of completing the application. Our other folder is our press release template. So if you are announcing your school's efforts related to promoting financial aid events, you can use this press release template. You can publicize the event in your local newspaper or any other kind of online outlet that would be willing to promote your school's events. And so each of our different campaign components has these separate subfolders within them. So that was Cash for College that we just looked at. I'll now go to the Alabama College Application Week. And it has all of the same folders with the addition of volunteers and influencers. So we know it takes a whole team and a whole community coming together to host and facilitate these events. That's why we have a volunteer recruitment letter template so that you can get community members to support the college application process. If you have a computer lab at your school and you want volunteers to walk around the room answering questions that students have, you can use some of these templates to both recruit volunteers and also thank them gather their information so that you can reach out to them in future years. And of course, make sure they feel appreciated on social media. So we have this volunteers and influencers folder. So I'm going to go back out to our main landing page of the toolkit, go into the College and Career Decision Day folder. Again, same layout. We'll just go through the digital assets. We have stuff already made for your social media pages. We have a bunch of different strategies that you can look at based on what educators have told us has been successful in the past. It also brainstorms some ways to do all of this work virtually if you're not going to be in person with your students at certain points throughout the year. So all these different tools that we really encourage you to peruse and see what makes sense for your school. And we really only are covering this at a very high level today, because what we heard from y'all is that you want to dig deep into the tools as the specific event is rolling around. So for instance, we have Why Apply Day coming up mid-September. And so we will be hosting a webinar to talk both about Why Apply Day as well as the Alabama College Application Campaign in great detail. And as we have that conversation, we're going to highlight resources within the toolkit that we think are going to help you do all of the promotion and outreach with your students and families. So we really just wanted to give you a preview of everything today. We've been working this summer to update these tools and to add more to the toolkit so that it keeps becoming more and more useful. If you have any tools that you think should be added, don't hesitate to share those with us. We are happy to add more and more to our toolbox each year. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now and bring back up our slides. I wanted to mention that as a part of the campaign, we send out a newsletter that both directs you to all of our webinars we'll be having, as well as just key information to stay informed with college going activities. And so if your school hasn't registered for the campaign yet, be sure to do that, and we'll make sure that every stakeholder and email that has been listed is included in our newsletter list. All right, I'll turn it over to you, Keela.
Yeah. So if anyone has any questions, I did see one and I picked up one in the chat, but if you have any questions, oh, I think Dr. Mack answered it. So I'll just elevate it. So someone asked, can the list of participating colleges in college application week be available in order for the students to research and prepare? So Dr. Mack said yes, and we're going to provide you that list. So yes. All right, well, we can head to the next slide. I'm not seeing any questions, but I still will look out for them. All right, so we do have some upcoming webinars, like May mentioned earlier. Monday, September 13th, we have the Alabama College Application Campaign and the Why Apply Day registration. So you can register using this link here. Like we mentioned earlier, everyone will receive a copy of this presentation. And then on Tuesday, September 21st, we'll have our virtual community building conversation. And then Wednesday, September 29th, we're going to have our Cash for College FAFSA 101 webinar. Next slide.
Keila, can I make one announcement?
Sure.
Regarding the list of participating colleges, like I said, once it's available, I will email that list out. So if you are not a part of the counselors listserv or the career coach listserv, please send me an email so that we can get you added to those groups or to the counseling coordinator group. And then I'm sure Alabama Possible will send it out or put it on their website as well.
All right, thank you. So I just sent a survey link in the chat. So we always appreciate your feedback. This is used to help make every webinar better for you, and so we can better support you. So we would appreciate it if you would take the time and take a quick survey. Next slide. And then for your professional development hours, I will send this information in the chat as well. But if you do miss it, it will be in the presentation. So you can use this information to collect your professional development hours. As usual, we're here to support you and support your students on their journey to college while you build this college going culture. Our help desk number is 334-316-6155. We can be sure to send this information. It'll be in the presentation with the follow-up email. And then our email is algoestocollege@alabamapossible.org. So we want to stay connected with you, whether that's via phone, via email, or on social media. And now I will turn it over to our executive director, Chandra Scott, for a couple closing remarks.
Well, first, I want to say a huge thank you to Nick Preston for joining us today and sharing your expertise in this space, for cross-learning and sharing with your colleagues. Thank you so much for the partnership that we have with the State Department with Dr. Mack. Without this partnership, really it's all about the partnerships. It's really to help us support you through this year. I know there's lots of questions with the new opt-out FAFSA model. We understand the questions that you're asking. We welcome them, but we mostly welcome our ability to support you. We are being much more intentional in partnerships between the State Department, the community college system, four-year institutions, to make sure you feel supported in this work. You are the front line in this, in making sure students complete their FAFSA, which really is the gateway for them to intergenerational poverty in their family, and just setting a more positive trajectory for themselves. But again, we want to thank you for all your hard work, your tireless efforts that you do and partake in your building, in your schools and in your community. Just know that Alabama Possible is here as a support system for you. I'm hoping that you find these tools that we presented of great use. If you have other ideas that you come across that you would like for us to incorporate in our toolkit, please don't hesitate to let us know. The better, bigger, better ideas that we have to incorporate into the toolkit only further supports our statewide post-secondary attainment goal, because we're equipping you all to do the work. So again, on behalf of Alabama Possible team, we thank you and we wish all of you just an amazing school year this year. We know there's many challenges, but we know all of you are able to rise above them because you already have done so. Last year posed so many challenges and all of you rose above them. So we wish you a great year this year and know that we are here to support you along the way for FAFSA completion.